Hello and welcome. Tonight, the All Progressives Congress is one step away from its presidential primary as aspirants take turns for the screening exercise by a panel headed by former Governor of Edo State, John Odige Oyegun. Labour Party holds presidential primary in Asaba Delta State. Former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi emerges candidate of the party. People's Democratic Party builds on success of its presidential primary. Atiku Abubakar visits fellow contestants, Governor Nyesom Wike and former Senate Presidents Ayim Pius Ayim and Dr. Bukola Saraki. And another video surfaces in social media of 8 kidnapped victims of the Kaduna-Abuja train attack pleading for help from the federal government.
On business news tonight, the Nigeria Customs Service seeks to generate $176 billion revenue in 20 years through modernization concession project.
And from Abuja, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is set to conduct governorship election in Ekiti State. Test runs the MyBodal voter accreditation system ahead of the election holding in June.
And in international news from London, the regional governor of the Ukrainian city Severodonetsk says fighting there is fierce and the situation is very difficult.
The battle to determine who will fly the flag of the ruling All Progressives Congress in the 2023 general election entered a crucial stage today. This comes as some of the presidential aspirants presented themselves for screening in Abuja. So far, 11 of the contestants have been screened by the panel headed by a former national chairman of the party, Chief Odige Oyegun. Here's more in this report.
The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, makes his entrance into this hall. He is here to inaugurate a committee to screen presidential aspirants contesting for the ticket under the APC. The committee is headed by the former national chairman of the party, Chief Odige Oyegun. The committee immediately gets down to business and receives various aspirants for screening.
Many people will take part in a race. Only one will obtain the crown. By the grace of God, we hope to obtain the crown. And like I said inside there, whoever obtains the crown, if it's me, I expect others to support me. If it's any of them, will support. This house will not be divided against itself.
It wasn't too much of an issue. I just answered that, yes, I'm for consensus, and that was it. So there was no big deal about the form, the signing of the paper, or any issue. There's no issue at all with that.
I'm not desperate. If it means if the government has identified, if our party has identified the best alternative that will enable us to do well in the general election, I will support it.
The national leader of the party, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, walks into the screening venue to a tumultuous welcome. So far, 7 aspirants have been screened, namely Emeka Wajuba, Nicholas Felix, Uju Ken Ohaneye, Ajayi Borofis, Ken Namani, David Umahi, and Tunde Bakare. Those awaiting screening by Monday night are Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, Ibukule Amosu, and Chibike Amechi.
Oh, I actually understand that Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been screened, making him the 12th aspirant to be screened today. The others will be screened tomorrow. Staying with the party primaries, the former governor of Anambra State, Mr. Peter Obi, has emerged the presidential candidate of the Labour Party at the party's primary held in Asaba, the Delta State capital. Mr. Obi was announced as the flag bearer after 3 other contestants stepped down for him. They were Professor Pat Utomi, Olubusola Emmanuel Teller, and Faduri Joseph. The former governor clinched the Labour Party's ticket barely a week after dumping the PDP and withdrawing from the primary election of the main opposition party. In his acceptance speech, Mr. Obi said it's time to return the nation to their rightful owners, that is, the ordinary Nigerian. And more political parties are concluding arrangements for their primaries. One of them is the Social Democratic Party, which has inaugurated a national convention presidential primary election committee to oversee the exercise. Speaking in Abuja at the inauguration, the national chairman of the party, Mr. Shehu Gabam, says the party is determined to rescue Nigeria from the hands of cabals holding the country hostage. The 10-man committee is headed by the party's candidate in the forthcoming governorship election in Ekiti State, Mr. Shegun Wuni.
The convention is pivotal to the realization of the party objective to ensure that our great country is rescued from the hands of the cabal that have held us hostage as a country. The main objective of the convention is to elect our flag bearer in the 2023 presidential elections, and given our antecedents, we have had a reputation of hosting the most crisis-free convention in the recent democratic history of our nation. In considering the membership of the committee, we were guided by the integrity of the members of the committee, and in particular the integrity, acumen, and sagacity of the chairman, His Excellency Engineer Shegun Oni, who incidentally is our governorship candidate for the June 18 Ekiti governorship election.
And 2 days after emerging as the flag bearer of the People's Democratic Party for the presidential election in 2023, former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has embarked on a fence-mending mission ahead of the crucial contest in 2023. Mr. Abubakar has called on the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike, who was the runner-up in the PDP presidential primary, at his residence in the Sokoro area of Abuja, promising to do all he can to bring everyone on board to forge a united front ahead of the 2023 general elections. He announced the visit on his official Twitter handle, explaining that his visit to Mr. Wike and other members of the party will be a continuous process to unify the party. He has also visited two other co-contestants, Senator Pius Ayim and Dr. Bukola Saraki. Before today's visit, Alhaji Abubakar and the national chairman of the PDP had on Sunday paid similar visits to the governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, who was one of the aspirants, but stepped down and urged his supporters to give their votes to the former vice president at the primary. The former vice president beat 11 other contestants for the PDP 2023 presidential ticket after polling 371 votes out of the 764 cast. Meanwhile, Governor Nyesom Wike has been speaking on the outcome of the PDP presidential primary, saying he could have scuttled the exercise, but for his love of the party. According to him, he was tempted to obstruct the process when an aspirant who had spoken previously was allowed to return to the podium to pronounce his withdrawal in contravention of the guidelines of the election. Governor Wike was speaking at a reception in his honor at the Government House, Port Harcourt, where he urged his supporters to remain loyal to the party.
Governor Nyesom Wike disembarks from the aircraft to be welcomed by a queue of umbrella-carrying supporters to shield themselves from the rain. If the governor thought handshakes was all he was getting, the rousing excitement on the streets of Port Harcourt quickly dispelled that notion. Residents of all ages cheered Governor Wike, touting him a hero for what they say was a gallant fight at the just concluded PDP presidential primary, where former Vice President Atiku Abubakar emerged victorious. There's more hurrah at the Government House. They say although the governor lost, the number he polled is very encouraging for the region.
Niger Delta is happy because you spoke for them. Today, our shoulders are high. We can go anywhere and speak about Rivers people.
Your Excellency, you fought a good fight. And you did not lose. Rivers State won. Africa.
In spite of the accolades, Governor Wike cannot keep his disappointment under his cap. He first hits at the turn of events that shaped the primary.
I've never seen how people can violate procedures, guidelines. Somebody has spoken. It is at that point he was speaking that he can say, I'm withdrawing. You don't call him back. I just said, look, this our party must not be destroyed. I would have left where I was sitting down. I said, no, this convention can go on.
He then berates his South counterparts, whom he believes should have stood by him when it mattered most for the region.
Shame to those who will sell out their own thing. Shame to them. You're a governor. You go to a meeting, agree on something that your people would now take the control. The same people will grant. I've never seen anything like that, man. A governor. And tomorrow is, the South is a minority. You are the one making yourself to be in a minority. And you are complaining of minority.
Governor Wike may not have won the presidential ticket, but his supporters are not dampened by the loss, but rather are encouraged by his performance, which they see as a step up in the political profile of not just Rivers State, but other minority groups in the country.
We're barely 48 hours after the emergence of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar as the presidential candidate of Nigeria's main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party. Some political analysts air their views on the considerations for his running mate in the 2023 general elections, while the PDP leadership is silent on who will be the running mate to Mr. Abubakar. The analysts are urging the party to seriously consider power balancing between the South and the North, gender equity, and competency to manage the nation's economy.
On Saturday, May 28, the People's Democratic Party elected the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar as its 2023 presidential flag bearer in a keenly contested primary in Abuja.
Mandate of his party, Your Excellency, sir.
That event is adjudged by some PDP members as a major success in the party's preparations for the 2023 general elections. With the PDP presidential primaries over, the party leadership, along with its presidential candidate, now has the onerous task of picking a running mate for the party. Although no member of the PDP National Working Committee is willing to comment on who the party is contemplating, both the party's leadership and the presidential candidate have been meeting with some of the presidential aspirants in the last 48 hours.
Thank you very much.
However, some political analysts are of the opinion that the PDP must consider several factors, including gender equity, the economy, as well as political power balancing between the North and South.
There is a clear constitutional provisions that assigns duties to the Vice President of the country. He is in charge, he or she is in charge of the economic management. He is the head of the economic management team. Therefore, whoever emerges in the thinking of the PDP or in terms of the general consideration that they should look at must be somebody who is mentally cerebral, has a mental stability, who understands a general global economic worldview. We should be looking at all the indices. We should be looking at the gender balancing, trying to get a woman who is very intelligent, who understands all of the issues.
Between 1999 and 2015, when the PDP held political powers in the central government, the party had maintained some political power balance between the North and South, with presidential candidates and their running mates emerging from the two regional divides. However, not everyone in the PDP feels that the power balancing between the North and South has been fair enough, and as such are not interested in whoever the party settles for as running mate to Atiku Abubakar.
You have the national chairman from the North, you have board of trustee chairman from the North, you have the candidate of the party from the North. My brother, what are we talking about? Yet, the surviving adrenaline of PDP is in the South. Of course, there were quite a number of our southern brothers who were lobbying for vice president. Anybody that they should take.
Having elected its presidential candidate for the 2023 general elections, political watchers say the choice of who becomes the running mate to Atiku Abubakar remains another critical decision that the party's leadership must carefully consider.
And in part two, after the break, former Minister of Information Frank Nweke Jr. emerges governorship candidate of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, ABGA, in Enugu State. Plus, kidnapped prelate of the Methodist Church of Nigeria, Primate Samuel Uche, is freed by his kidnappers. That's in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. APC screens presidential aspirants ahead of June 6th party primary election. Labour Party holds presidential primary in Asaba Delta State. Former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi emerges party's candidate. People's Democratic Party builds on success of its presidential primary. Atiku Abubakar visits fellow contestants, Governor Nyesom Wike, Ayim Pius Ayim, and Dr. Bukola Saraki. And kidnapped prelate of the Methodist Church of Nigeria, Primate Samuel Uche, freed by his kidnappers alongside two other clerics in Abia State. Well, let's bring you an update of the APC screening for presidential aspirants, as 12 of the contestants for the APC have been screened by the panel headed by the former national chairman of the party, Chief Odige Oyegun. Other members of the party's presidential screening panel include the national chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, and its national secretary, Senator Yola Omisore. Those that have been screened are Mr. Emeka Nwajuba, Mr. Nicholas Felix, Governor Dave Umahi, Uju Ken Ohanenye, Senator Ajayi Boniface, Senator Ken Amani, Pastor Tunde Bakare, Mr. Sonny Yerima, Governor Abubakar Badaru. Others are Senator Bikunle Amosun, Mr. Chibike Amechi, and Chief Bola Tinubu. Meanwhile, the party has removed the names of some aspirants who earlier submitted forms for the presidential primaries. They include Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, Dr. Chris Ngige, Timipre Silva, and Godwin Emefiele. The exercise is expected to continue tomorrow. Meanwhile, a former chairman of the Surulere local government area, Prince Hakeem Dixon, has emerged governorship candidate of the Accord Party in Lagos State. In his acceptance speech, the Accord Party flag bearer says he is ready to lead the party to victory come 2023, while also promising to serve in the best interests of the people of the state.
It's a pleasure to be here with all our Accord members without any fight among ourselves. With this kind of united Accord members, we are ready and eager to take on the APC, PDP, and other 15 political parties next year, 2023. Amen. This is a year of inspiration and hope, and it will be a year of concern. We Lagosians believe that we can come through this troubled time stronger than ever before. To make our campaign direct to the people of the state, homes, shopping centers, shopping malls, factory, colleges, beauty salon, barbers, mention the farmers, schools, union. This is where we take our campaign to. This has been a long and personal campaign.
Meanwhile, in Enugu State, former Minister of Information, Mr. Frank Nweke Jr., has won the All Progressives Grand Alliance governorship primary election to fly the party's flag in 2023. He polled 273 of 555 delegates' votes to defeat his closest rival, Jeff Nnamani, who scored 267 votes.
At the end of it all, we're all winners. Everyone who came out here, I believe, came out because we were concerned about the state of affairs in Enugu State. We are deeply committed to bringing about change. And so I commend the sportsmanship with which the entire process has been managed, the cordiality with which everything has progressed. And I want to just commit myself to ensuring that everyone here is carried along. We're going to join hands because our ultimate aim is to ensure that APGA takes over the seat of government in this state. That is our ultimate aim.
And for the ticket of the Anambra North Senatorial District, wife of the immediate past governor of Anambra State, Mrs. Ebele Obiano, has defeated 3 male aspirants to clinch the Anambra North Senatorial District ticket on the platform of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA. The primary election conducted at the Chuba Ikpeazu Stadium, Onitsha, saw the former First Lady poll 152 votes to defeat her closest rival and the ex-chief of staff to her husband, Mr. Primus Odili, who polled 120 votes. Meanwhile, Senator Ifeanyi Ubah emerged as the YPP candidate to contest the Anambra South senatorial seat.
The battle for the Anambra North senatorial ticket was a tough one for aspirants of the All Progressives Grand Alliance. The primary election had been fixed for May 28th in Anambra East Local Government Area headquarters, but it never held due to security concerns. The party then announced Chuba Ikpeazu Stadium, Onitsha, as venue for the exercise the next day. Voting was conducted peacefully, with 276 votes cast. Former First Lady of Anambra State, Mrs. Ebele Obiano, defeated the immediate past Chief of Staff to the former governor to clinch the party ticket.
Odili Primus Ugochukwu scored the total number of 120 votes. Obiano Ebele Chukwuvi scored the total number of 152 votes.
By the power invested on me as the returning officer of this senatorial Anambra North senatorial election, I hereby declare Chief Mrs. Ebele Chukwu Obiano as the winner.
Jubilation continues as party members react to Mrs. Obiano's victory.
Since they declared Excellency Ebele Chukwu Obiano the winner, that means it holds. So we are happy about that.
It's a party affair, it's a family affair. She has won the election, and we all will fall in line and make sure we deliver in the national elections come next year.
In other National Assembly elections, Senator Ifeanyi Ubah has emerged the Young Progressives Party's candidate for Anambra South Senatorial District, giving him a chance to contest for a second term. Meanwhile, Mohammed Bashir won the Nasarawa Total Constituency Primary of the All Progressives Congress. He beat incumbent Mohammed Ari, who did not get any votes.
The victory is actually a victory for democracy, and all of us are Democrats. And I join us to exhibit, spirit of sportsmanship. Let's come together, let's work together, let's synergize, collaborate, and see to the emergence of myself and the party at the general elections.
Though victorious in their individual primaries, these candidates have one more hurdle to cross as they face candidates from other political parties to win the seats being contested for in the 2023 general elections.
And we have more on the forthcoming elections and more stories. Here's our correspondent, Linda Akibe, with more. Hi, Linda.
Hello, Millicent. Now, still on the 2023 elections, while activities ahead of the general elections gather momentum, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it is firming up preparations for next month's governorship election in Ekiti State. To this end, the Commission's chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has personally supervised the mock accreditation of intending voters. According to the INEC boss, the exercise creates an avenue for the assessment of the bimodal voter accreditation system.
We said that we are going to do a mock test in a few local government areas to further test the functionality of the machines before the election. And so far, so good with the mock. We have visited one of the polling centers in Ado. We are here in Ikere. From here, we'll go to Irepodun, Ifelodun local government for the same reason.
an overall assessment is that we are happy with the functionality of the machine. That is one. Number two, we're also here to look at the readiness of our facilities for the election. As you can see, we have renovated the Ikere local government office, just as we have done with many other local government offices. These are not administrative facilities. They are also electoral assets, because on election day we'll do the RA collation in our local government areas. So far, so good. The third leg of the assessment is for us to see how far the PVCs that we have made available to voters have been collected. Remember, without PVCs, citizens cannot vote on election day. And 74% of the PVCs have been collected so far.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria Customs Service seeks to generate $176 billion revenue in 20 years through modernization concession project. That's on Business News. Join us again. You're welcome back to the news at 10, coming to you live from Abuja. The Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room has expressed its disappointment with INEC for backtracking on its earlier stance on the timeline for political parties' primaries, insisting that such inconsistency on the part of INEC pushed some parties to have their primaries notwithstanding the flaws. The Situation Room, which is a coalition of civil society groups in Nigeria, also frowns on what they describe as monetization of the party primaries and ask INEC to investigate the use of money in the ongoing candidate selection processes. In a statement by the convener, Mrs. Eneobi, the group also urges INEC to desist from any future action that may give the perception of bias, as was the case with the recently adjusted timeline for political party primaries. To the judiciary. The former governor of Imo State, Senator Rochas Okorocha, has pleaded not guilty to the 17-count money laundering charge bordering on conspiracy and stealing referred against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Senator Okorocha took his plea alongside a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, Anyim Chinenye, and 5 companies. Following their plea, Senator Okorocha's lawyer, Mr. Oke Amechi, praised the court to release him on bail pending the determination of the case against him. Former governor of Imo State and current senator representing Imo West constituency arrives the courtroom at the Federal High Court Abuja ahead of his arraignment by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on alleged money laundering charges. He's received by friends, family members and his lawyers. The courtroom is filled to its capacity with every available space taken. Then to the day's proceedings. The former governor and his defendants plead not guilty to the 17-count charge bordering on conspiracy and siphoning of funds when it was read to them. Shortly after that, his lawyer, Mr. Oke Amechi, praised the court to release him on bail pending the determination of the case. The counsel to the EFCC, however, told the court that the federal lawmaker raised some issues in his bail application that would require his response. The trial judge, Justice Ian Geko, subsequently adjourned the matter till Tuesday to hear the bail application of the defendants and also ordered that they should remain in the custody of the EFCC pending the determination of the application.
Since the charge was filed in January, whether they would say deliberately or not, they didn't serve him. So they just waited until 24th, which was the screening day of APC, and stormed his house and seized him and took him into custody without court order of arrest warrant. And they have been keeping him. So we have applied for bail because he's entitled to bail. If he's served and he didn't appear, the court will issue a warrant for his arrest, but he was not served. And they did not even take advantage of the provision of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, which says if you can't find the defendant, you file a motion for substance service, the court will give you leave, you go and put it at his house. They didn't do that. We don't want to suspect their motive for what they did, particularly choosing the day of the screening.
Senator Okorocha had declared his intention to contest for the presidency in the 2023 elections, but was arrested by operatives of the anti-graft agency. The arrest followed the alleged refusal by the former governor and serving senator to make himself available for trial, of which the EFCC accused him of deliberately evading service of the charge on him. To security matters, kidnapped prelate of the Methodist Church of Nigeria, Primate Samuel Uche, has been freed by his kidnappers. Primate Uche and 2 other clerics regained their freedom this evening. The head of the Methodist Church in Nigeria was said to have been kidnapped yesterday along Uturu Ihube axis of Abia State, together with the 2 other clerics. Meanwhile, one of the victims of the March 28 Kaduna train attack, Sadiq Ango Abdullahi, who is the son of the chairman of Northern Elders Forum, Professor Ango Abdullahi, has appealed to the federal government to come to their rescue by yielding to the demands of the abductors. In a fresh video released by the abductors, Sadiq Abdullahi, flanked by other hostages, including women, laments that their condition is deteriorating. A female victim who claims to be a classmate of the vice president at the Nigerian Law School appeals to government to speedy up their release. That's all from Abuja. Back to you, Millicent.
Thanks, Linda. The University of Benin Teaching Hospital Golf Club is wearing a new look. This is all thanks to a Nigerian bottling company which has undertaken a breathtaking turnaround maintenance of the facility. And later, Chief Medical Director is upbeat that the collaboration between the UBTH and Nigerian Bottling Company and Heineken will be a long-lasting one. NBC Heineken, on its part, maintains that this is a business venture that will endure as long as the golf club exists.
The roofs were falling apart, like I said. We had to redo the roofs.
The new is better illuminated with what was a derelict fun house, now is a looker. The torch of Heineken is in every place and space. Guests, friends, everyone soaking in the Heineken ambience.
Ladies and gentlemen. Please raise this up. Okay.
The regional business manager, Heineken Benin Zone, talks us through the focus of the golf club going forward.
We choose this place to have this kind of wonderful outfit because of what it will bring to people in Edo State and to the brand Heineken. All right, the people that we have here are people that the kind of clientele that Heineken look forward to, and they look forward to Heineken as aspiration brand. All right, so we need this place to help further build the brand, while the brand help to build this outlet. Together, they do greater things as partnership.
NBC Heineken Benin Zone says the company considers the rehabilitation of the UBTH Golf Club as a business endeavor that will be well driven by the NBC Heineken brand.
When you partner with brand Heineken, it's not one-off. It's not something that happens overnight and it stops. So we will continue to be here. We support them every quarter, support them every year. You know, it's not a place that you do this kind of investment and you abandon it after 1 year.
The Chief Medical Director of UBTH is pretty upbeat about the collaboration with NBC Heineken and believes the newly rehabilitated golf club will come quite handy to caregivers, handlers and relations of patients.
The University of Benin Teaching Hospital has a straight 18-hole golf course, which is embedded inside the hospital premises, and we believe we are the only one in the world that has such a golf course, and that is deliberately so because we believe that patients and their relations and their caregivers, when they have their patients in the ward, they can come here and relax while we take care of the medical condition. So we are very grateful to Nigerian breweries, Heineken. They've done a fantastic job, and we are very happy to receive this today.
The golf club has thrown its doors open to anyone interested in having some recreation and a hangout. Osazo Abaze Channels Television News.
Let's go over to the lovely Joke Rogers, who's got the latest in business.
Thanks, Millicent. Welcome to Business News. A concession agreement has been signed between the Nigeria Customs Service and Trade Modernization Project Limited. The public-private partnership has the Africa Finance Corporation as lead financier and is projected to generate over $176 billion to the federal accounts in 20 years. Comptroller General of the NCS, Colonel Hamid Ali, says the service will be fully digitized and will set the pace for all other African countries to follow. With 23 gainers against 17 losers, Nigeria's stock market ends Monday's trading session in the red as the month of May enters its final hours. Will Ibong tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Yes, that's the sound of 169 billion naira taking off the market value as the all-share index dropped from its Friday high of 54,000 points to 53,772 points in today's trading session. Activity chart reflected the market sentiment as volume and value saw huge jumps today. Deals didn't follow suit as it saw a lower figure when compared to Friday. Let's break down some of the individual stocks posting double-digit drops. MTN Nigeria contributed largely to today's market loss. The stock fell 2.95%, shedding 7 naira to close at 230 naira. Lafarge lost 1.6%. Honeywell dropped 6.29%, and Presco dropped a whopping 10%. Will Presco keep free falling from here? Most key sectors lower: banking, consumer goods, industrial. The oil and gas sector did give us some good news. Its index was up 0.07% thanks to O&O. Are big stocks entering the danger zone, or can we expect a rebound tomorrow? That's the Stock Market Report. I'm Will Ibong. It's back to you.
That's business news on the news at 10. Back to you now, Millicent.
Thank you, Joke. Coming up next on the news at 10, the regional governor in the Ukrainian city of Severodonetsk says fighting is fierce and situation is becoming unbearable. That's coming up and around the world in 5. Stay with us. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has called on EU leaders to show greater unity and called for a new set of sanctions against Russia, including a ban on Russian oil. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The regional governor in the Ukrainian city of Severodonetsk says fighting is fierce and the situation is very difficult. Eyewitness video showed damaged buildings in the city. Severodonetsk is a key Russian objective as part of its goal of capturing all of the eastern Luhansk region, but Ukrainian forces are mounting stiff resistance. Meanwhile, several strikes hit Kharkiv and the region around the city. Ukraine's second biggest city had been relatively quiet since Ukrainian forces regained territory around it and pushed back Russian troops this month, enabling the authorities to reopen the city's metro network. After failing to seize the capital Kyiv in its 3-month war, Russia is now trying to wrest full control of the eastern Donbass region, where it has backed a separatist revolt since 2014. Ukraine's Kalush Orchestra, which won the Eurovision Song Contest earlier this month, has raised $900,000 for the country's military battling the Russian invasion by selling the contest's trophy. The group won Eurovision with their entry Stefania, surfing a wave of public support to claim an emotional victory that was welcomed by the country's president. They have now sold the crystal microphone they were awarded in a Facebook auction. The funds raised will be used to purchase for the armed forces the PD-2 unmanned aerial system, which includes 3 aircraft and a ground control station. The U.S. Department of Justice says it will investigate the police response to last week's mass shooting at a school in Uvalde, in Texas, which killed 19 children and 2 teachers. Public anger is growing after it emerged that officers waited in the hallway as children trapped with the shooter made desperate 911 calls. President Joe Biden visited the memorial to the victims on Sunday with his wife and First Lady Jill. As they were leaving, the gathered crowd chanted, "Do something," prompting this response. A criminal court in Egypt has sentenced a former presidential candidate to 15 years in prison with hard labour. Abdel Monaim Aboul Fatou, who is 70 and in poor health, was convicted along with an interim leader of the proscribed Muslim Brotherhood group, Mahmoud Azat, of disseminating fake news and joining a terrorist group. Both are blanket charges. Mr. Aboul Fatou was arrested in 2018 upon his return from Britain. While in London, he gave several media interviews in which he criticised President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's rule. Sudan's military government has lifted a state of emergency which it imposed after seizing power in a coup 6 months ago. Protests against the military government have continued since the coup in October. Clashes with police have killed nearly 100 people since then. In recent days, security forces have arrested many protesters targeting the leaders of the resistance movement. The country's ruling Security and Defence Council said the decision was made at a meeting headed by the military leader, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. It said the move was aimed at creating the right atmosphere for dialogue. Rescue workers in Nepal have recovered 14 bodies as they scoured a remote Himalayan mountainside, scattered with wreckage of a small plane that crashed with 22 people on board. Operated by privately owned Tara Air, the aircraft went down during cloudy weather on Sunday. Nepal, home to 8 of the world's 14 highest mountains, including Everest, has a record of air accidents. Its weather can change suddenly, and airstrips are typically located in mountainous areas that are hard to reach. A man seemingly disguised as an old woman in a wheelchair has staged an attack on the Mona Lisa painting. Video shared online shows the world's most famous artwork with what witnesses said was cake smeared across the glass, protecting it. Bystanders said a man dressed as an old lady jumped out of a wheelchair at the Louvre in Paris before attempting to smash the protective glass in front of the Leonardo da Vinci painting. One witness said the man then proceeded to smear cake on the glass and throw roses everywhere before being tackled by security. And finally, tens of thousands of people have flocked to the Belgian town of Dendermonde to witness a historic parade that featured 4 children riding a giant horse. Known as the Bayard Steed, the 4.85-metre tall wooden figure, carried by 12 men, had not been shown in public for 12 years. Some 86,000 onlookers witnessed the 1-ton statue crossing the Flemish city. Accompanied by giant figures, acrobats and some 2,000 actors in historical costumes, the folk ritual is only enacted once every 10 years and was postponed 2 times because of the coronavirus pandemic. It will next take place in 2030. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
And the main news again, the All Progressives Congress today began screening its presidential primary as aspirants. 12 of them took turns to undertake the exercise carried out by a panel headed by former Governor of Edo State, John Odige Oyegun. That's News at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.